with the committee. One is that you have, through a video that was played here, threatened Parliament and the members of the committee. The second issue that the committee had to deal with is a threatening message you sent to Mr. Nkabinde when he was testifying here. After you have staged a walkout, General Pashlani reiterated that you have constantly sent him threatening and insulting messages. Yesterday, a prosecutor that prosecuted a case against you, Advocate Mashukha, showed us numerous threatening and insulting messages you sent to him when he was a prosecutor in a case against you. Why are you this bully?
Sorry, why what?
Why are you this bully?
Why am I what?
Why are you this bully?
This bullying.
Bully. Yes. Why? You don't know.
I can't explain.
You are just bully without any explanation. You just bully around people. You threaten them. You threatened, according to the evidence that was delivered to us yesterday, Advocate Mashukha, that you are going to send him to jail. You later, after he's arrested, are going to go after his wife. You are going to ensure that his house is taken to auction. You will buy that house in auction and you will sell it for profit. Why are you bullying people around? Where do you get this authority, you and you alone, to bully people around?
Sorry, Chairman, it might be seen as bullying on my part, but it needs to be taken into context with the unlawful conduct of those people against me, which included dragging me off a plane in front of my minor children, assaulting me, detaining and torturing me for 3 days, repeatedly raiding my offices, and all sorts of other extraneous activities, including falsely charging me and forcing me to stand trial on no fewer than 6 different trumped-up trials, 4 of which were acquitted. I was found not guilty. It forced me to spend 88 days in court of my own time and 140 days in preparing to spend 88 days in court. I had to move my family to the other side of the world for their own protection because people wanted to kill me, and that included police officers who were part of this whole conspiracy against me. So if my conduct was seen as bullying, it was a response to the outrageous and egregious conduct of prosecutors and police officials who acted unlawfully as they were part of the state capture project. They wanted to silence anybody that was exposing corruption. So that really is the very simple answer for the alleged bullying. But to be frank with you, the criminal justice system, as we know, is still captured. And the cases I've opened against those people are still gathering dust, save for the cases I've opened against Pashlani, because he's now on trial for, I think, plus minus, I don't know the exact figure, but plus minus 300 million rand. And if I hadn't have opened the case against him, I think he would have probably gotten away with it. And if I hadn't have stuck to my guns, and if we look at this in perspective, I opened the case against General Pashlani in February 2016. And by October 2016, no investigation had been done whatsoever, apart from apart from the investigation which I carried out at my own expense, on my own risk, to identify witnesses and take statements from them, because IPID was captured at that stage.
Okay.
So I'm sorry it's seen by certain people as bullying. It's certainly seen by the people who attacked me as bullying, but what they failed to do is point out, while they're describing my bullying, the unlawful conduct that they carried out against myself and my family. And
Okay.
yeah, that's it in a
No,
nutshell.
that's fine. Even so, there is nothing that gives you a right to insult and threaten people. And for that matter, the evidence that is before us is that there is nothing wrong we have done as this committee. There is nothing wrong Advocate Mashocha did, but you sent him threatening emails. But let's part that part. Let's pass that part. So, was the braai about a braai or about a book launch?
Are we talking about the braai in December 2016?
Yes.
The braai was a year-end braai, and invited to that braai was a journalist who wrote a book, and that book was distributed at the braai, and also distributed at the braai was a document, which is actually in part of my bundle, called Joining the Dots. Unfortunately, whatever else took place at the braai is a complete misrepresentation. I was only there for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then I left because I had to go to the airport. I was flying overseas. So it was a braai and a book launch and the handing out of a document called Joining the Dots, Chairman.
Okay, if so, why was it highly confidential? If it's a braai and a distribution of copies of a book written by one of your own, why was it highly confidential?
It wasn't confidential, Chairman. The only thing that was confidential at the time, and this is a fact, at the time there was an attempt to murder myself, and at the time I didn't want anybody to know where I was. So the only thing that was confidential was the fact that the braai was taking place and that I would be there. Bearing in mind, by that stage, I'd already survived something like 6 or 7 attempts on my life in the prior 3 years to that time.
Did you buy a Rotovan Krisha's house?
No.
The prosecutor that prosecuted your impersonating an IPID official case solicited witness statements from the security guards that were there when you visited the estate, the estate manager, and the people who were dealing with the building plans and stuff. And they are corroborating with the allegations made by General Pashlani that you have asked them questions about, amongst other things, the nature of the guns his protectors carry, how many protectors, how many cars and stuff. And you have said to us, you only went there to point out what you deemed as a crime scene. So how did this kind of question be part of what you call just a pointing out of a crime scene?
Chairman, there was a criminal investigation by IPID, which was 10 months late getting off the ground because of the capture of IPID by the then Minister of Police and others. And the investigation, when it got off the ground, resulted in me being requested, and I complied with the request, to assist bring the investigating team up to speed. And I've set this out in some detail. The allegations, and I didn't see what took place I believe, in this committee yesterday. But the allegations, the false allegations made by Michael Mashucha, contained within his affidavit, is a repeat of the same allegations he placed before the Zondo Commission in 2020. And I provided a very detailed response to those allegations, including the tape recordings of the meetings that we had, which proved that the counter-investigation being carried out by the Northwest team or Mabula team, whatever you would like to call it, the counter-investigation being carried out by them resulted in them obtaining contradictory sworn statements from witnesses who had already provided sworn statements to IPID officials. And the sworn statements provided to IPID officials were now being countered under the false allegation. And I believe the evidence has been led by Robert McBride. The false allegation was that there was a so-called threat against General Pashlani. But the reality of the situation is there was no request to carry out a threat analysis. That was a cover story. And the cover story resulted in a docket being opened, I think, on the first week or the second week of January, multiplicity of statements being taken from state witnesses who had already given statements to IPID, and 3 weeks later, fraudulently obtaining arrest warrants and then arresting people to stop the investigation into General Pashlani. The end result was that IPID took it upon themselves to launch an application in the High Court to have the counter-investigation declared unlawful, and the counter-investigation eventually, I think it was Justice Tugton, Neil Tugton, and Justice Neil Tugton gave an order stating that the conduct of the Northwest team was illegal. But notwithstanding all of that, my submission to the Zondo Commission sets out chapter and verse with evidence, and the evidence includes the transcripts of the meetings that took place. And those transcripts prove beyond reasonable doubt, and the voice recordings prove beyond reasonable doubt, that the counter-investigation statements were false, and they were only intended to bring false charges against myself, my then corporate counsel, Sarah Jane Trent, and I think 2 or 3, I can't remember their names, of the IPID officers that were carrying out the investigation based on the docket which I had opened. And at that point, it became clear that, in fact, the docket I had opened ended up getting parked, and I don't think, although he was arrested on it, I don't think he was
I think we got the point
prosecuted on it. And then other dockets were opened by IPID, which I had absolutely nothing to do with.
Okay, no, I think we got to the point. Did you or did you not threaten those people there to falsify statements, to give you personal banking details of people, to give you the building plan of General Pashlani's house, and if not, they are liable for an imprisonment of a time period not less than 2 years because they are defying you and you are from IPID?
And the answer is no. It's an absolute lie.
So if you were there to point out a crime scene as a complainant at IPID, what was Miss Trent doing there?
What was what?
Miss Trent doing there?
Well, she was my corporate counsel. She's an attorney, and she assisted me with the investigation into Pashlani. She was also at the time a director of Forensics for Justice, Forensics for Justice were carrying out the investigation. Forensics for Justice was registered, and the purpose of Forensics for Justice is to expose state-sponsored corruption. And if you go on the website, you can see all the cases there where we have brought charges against people for corruption. And I think only 2 of those cases involved working with IPID, and that was the case against General Nqola, who eventually got fired. It was found that his appointment was unlawful because he was not a fit and proper person, and also the Pashlani matter. And the Pashlani matter that the docket I opened only related to where the funds came from for the construction of his house and his corrupt relationship with a police supplier. And when IPID investigate that, they found a lot more. And I wasn't involved in that investigation at all.
Okay. Let's go back to your walkout.
The what?
Your march out.
Mass house. What?
When you stood up and left in Parliament, do you understand that you took an oath that you are going to answer fully and satisfactorily? And you just stood up when the evidence leader was still busy questioning you. Do you not consider that as a breaking your own oath that you have taken in Parliament? And consequences for that should be followed in accordance to the powers, privileges, and immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislators Act.
No, I don't.
You stood up without being released.
Honorable Nqola, that question is not related to our terms of reference. It's a matter which the committee can deal with at its own time.
Are you saying, Chair, we shouldn't ask questions in relation to the march out?
Yeah, no, it's not related to our terms of reference. Let's probe the witness for the purpose we called him here. If members want to discuss that matter, we can discuss it later, but not during the proceedings. If you want the witness to respond to that, let's deal with the matters that we called him here for. And when we are done with these proceedings, if you want him to explain that incident, then we can give you time to deal with that.
No, Chair, you'll recall that at the time of the incident, you would have rotated the matter and asked if we want Mr. O'Sullivan back. And would have, as members, expressly said yes, and given the reasons why we want Mr. O'Sullivan back. And amongst those reasons was the conduct of him as a witness under oath in respect of the work we're doing here as Parliament. So I don't understand now if we are not going to go to that extent, Chair, because we have expressly said amongst the reasons we want him back is that the way he has conducted himself in this work we're doing is actually relevant to a sitting of this.
That is exactly what I'm saying, that for now, use your time to ask him questions. When we are done with this part, we will give you a chance to ask him questions on that matter.
That's fine, Chair. I'm happy to.
It must be a separate item.
Okay.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
That's fine, Chair. I'm done for